of Orlando, Florida, the most electrifying show in media. A Neighbor's Choice is live here in beautiful Central Florida. The problems we have, they're not that hard to solve. But just in case, joining me in studio is our rocket scientist, Dr. Yu, in the house.
Thank you, David.
Sometimes you need a rocket scientist. And I'm David Gornoski, your neighborhood political exorcist. And we want to break through all the groupthink sacred cows in our culture. And that includes every topic that you're told by the authorities. This is what you have to think. This is how you have to behave. We just cut through it all because it's all a waste of time. And you know what else is a waste of time, Dr. Yu? And I know you're an esteemed, credentialed physicist. And I know there's good values for college for some people. But college is a waste of time for many, many people. I hate to break it to you. I really do. And joining me for this topic and many others is Lena Wang. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, David.
Lena spoke at a recent event that I was at with the Mises Institute at University of Central Florida, just down the road from us here in Orlando, where she was exploring how college is really an ill fit for a lot of people, and that it actually turns into a racket and kind of a ripoff for many people who just want to have a good job. And they get into all this debt, and they just learn all these ideological ideas that don't really have any practical importance and barely have any semblance of reality with them. And I really enjoyed Lena's speech. She's worked with Praxis, which is a group that trains people in, apprenticeship for startups. And I think that's a very interesting topic. So I wanted to hear more about it.
Yeah, so Praxis is basically a business boot camp. You know how there's coding boot camps, except this one is geared towards learning business skills. And what Praxis saw was a gap in the market that college was only teaching theory, but they didn't teach students how to actually apply it. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this, such as, the STEM degrees or medicine or anything related to that. But for a lot of students, they weren't pursuing those degrees. And so Praxis saw this gap, and they decided, you know what, we're going to create something that is practical for people and that's much cheaper. So that is what I'm a part of.
Yeah, and you were talking about, your experience in a community college here in Orlando. Just kind of get into that for people. A lot of people are told, no, the only way you're going to make it is if you go to college and get a degree, get that social status on your record. But you had a different experience.
Yeah, so I went to Valencia College for 2 years, and I was only going for a general studies A degree, but I planned to pursue a business degree, like transfer over to UCF. Now, it was generally a pretty okay experience. Like, one of the advantages of going to a community college is you're not distracted by all these other extracurricular activities. Like clubs or parties or anything like that. But you see a lot of your peers in a community college are more serious, and it affects you as well because you're more encouraged to study harder.
Right.
And, of course, it's much cheaper. Plus, you get the same quality education as a bigger university. But
you don't get the social status of the Harvard.
No, unfortunately.
Which is everything for these people that are trying to give us free college for everyone, right? It's all about social status.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of my high school teachers and counselors, they looked down on community colleges. They said, oh, you're going to Valencia? Well, that's only for people who flunked their classes in high school or who skipped class all the time. And, I mean, when you tell poor students, poor families this, they're going to get into this mindset and they'll start to feel trapped because they know they cannot afford a huge university. And it's very unfair for them to, force them to think this way, that they only have one choice, one good choice in their life.
Right. Yeah, it's a one-size-fits-all, and it's really, really presumptuous of people to try to plan out everybody's lives in one cookie-cutter way. It reminds me of what an author friend of mine, Bill Kaufman, said. And he said, we have such an imperial mindset where we don't appreciate our local communities.
Yeah.
And you can hear it in our language, the words we use. For example, if you want to describe someone who's going to be successful, you say, well, he's going somewhere or she's going somewhere, which is the idea of like, you got to get out of Dodge. You got to get out of your local place to be somebody. And it's the opposite. If someone's not being successful, we say, well, they're not going anywhere, right? It's the idea of like there's this bias against localism, a bias against rootedness. And that's what happens when you have a nationalized empire like what we have, where cookie cutter TV, cookie cutter hamburgers, cookie cutter corporations, cookie cutter one size fits all mentality, no appreciation for, well, what about your small town? What is it about that culture that makes it unique and beautiful? And why is it that only these universities or these cities can provide what's intelligent? It's really a stupid myth.
Yeah. And the thing is, people always say, well, you got to contribute back or give back to your community. Well, how are you going to do that if you're going to leave?
Right.
Right. And the other thing you were saying, how everything's so cookie cutter, resumes are another cookie cutter. And Praxis we're always stressing about how, a resume isn't enough. Because you look at all the credentials that everyone else has, it's the same as you. I mean, they all have the same internships, the same degrees. And what's going to make you stand out in the workforce? And it's not a resume anymore. We have to move away from the resume into something newer, into either apprenticeship or, getting work projects out. And that is one of the things Praxis emphasizes on is our value propositions.
Sure.
Which are basically you research a company and you find what you can improve on, and then create a project centered around that.
Right. It reminds me of my own background. I studied communication, but I didn't really learn anything in their value. Most of my value in my time there was in what I called my shadow university, which is what I found in the library. Books that they were not supposed to be in the university. Somehow some donor had put them there. I'd read all these subversive ideas that were not the stupid generic hive mind thing I was learning in all the classes. And I had fun with that. But really, like my communication skill, being able to do public speaking, radio, things like that, that came through apprenticeship. My dad's a pastor. And so from the day I was young, 3 years old or whatever, I was conscious, I was listening to him preach. So he didn't ever sit me down and say, you got to learn X, Y, and Z to learn how to talk. I just learned by osmosis, by apprenticeship, by just skin in the game, getting involved in the environment of public speaking. And that's what allowed me to be able to do what I did. There's nothing you can learn in a textbook that will help you do that,
Yeah. So you were basically just observing him then. Right.
Just being an apprentice. But, he'd come along with me to say, hey, come with me to meet this person. And I listen to him counsel someone. So then I pick up osmosis, how to counsel, how to help someone like what psychologists do. Or you go along and he does a sermon over a funeral. So then you learn what that looks like. What does death look like? How do you process that with people? That's just learning along the way. And that, I think, is what kind of is at the heart of apprenticeship is imitation rather than, just textbook knowledge, right?
Like actually doing the work rather than reading about it. Like, imagine if we told children how to learn how to ride a bike. Are you going to sit them down and say, you have to read these chapters tonight about how to ride a bike? Sounds ridiculous, right?
Right.
But at the same time, we're telling students to do the same thing for their workforce,
right? For
jobs.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
And it's like if the people say, if people in like business departments, where if they were truly successful, why would they still be teaching business in a college? Why wouldn't they have a university? I mean, why wouldn't they have their own company and be a millionaire if they really know how to manage business? So you don't really want to learn business management or marketing. I'm sorry to say, there's a lot of great people there, but I'm just saying, why would you want to be in debt? Learning from people who didn't make it in the marketplace about how to start a business in the marketplace. There's a reason why they're in the university system. They didn't make it. If they invested in some business or something, they'd be having a good time. And why? They wouldn't be going around listening to seminars about how to become more equitable and all these other little buzz terms that they're using. But that's what, universities have become. They're basically a religion. Sounds like it's more like a church system to me. Every time I would go to my college over here in Florida, I'd say, now, be careful. We are treading on holy ground. This is the sacred temple of humanism. That's what I called it. But that's kind of what we're experiencing too, right?
Well, yeah. Again, with the whole prestige that comes with it, it's Like, oh, hey, you got like a degree from this Ivy League? Wow, and people praise you more than someone who, went through other routes, not just like going through a community college, but working their way up. Or just like what I went through was a boot camp.
Right. Well, on the other side, we're going to get into more of this, learning more about why college is such a scam. And I want you guys to call in 866-916-5400. That's toll free, 866-916-5400. You're listening to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski. We'll see you in a second.
The whispers in the morning of lovers sleeping tight are rolling by like thunder now.
A Neighbor's Choice Radio is back. I'm David Gornoski, and we're cutting through all the noise and confusion in a world lost in a lot of it. 866-916-5400 is the number to call in if you want to have a point or a question about what do we do about college. I know a lot of people, we're broadcasting all over the Orlando metro market and online worldwide, thousands more. And there are a lot of people who are thinking about going to college or sending their kids to college. And that's a big decision, because that's a decision that's going to put you in the hole with debt. Sometimes $100,000 for a literary degree ain't going to get you nothing. I can teach you more about literature just here on the show. Call in, I'll give you some books. You ain't got to get $100,000 in debt for it. Hey, watch Reading Rainbow if you got to, if you want to learn how to read. I mean, goodness, don't get $100,000 in debt for a literary degree unless you're going to be the next Shakespeare. Goodness. But if you want to call in and toll free, 866-916-5400. Should you go to college? Are you dropping out of college? Are you going to get your kids into an alternative to the debt scam that is modern colleges? And I'm here with Lena Wang, who has been explaining some of her experiences here in local college here in Orlando, and just want to continue where we left off. What do you think people are going to, what do you wish people knew about college going in that, you wish you had known, if you could tell people thinking about taking the plunge?
Yeah, one of the things I wish I knew was college is really only worth it if your degree is in demand. So, I mean, we're experiencing degree inflation right now, which is just like our fiat currency here.
Right.
And
a dollar, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone has it, which doesn't make you unique anymore. And it's become kind of worthless now, just like the high school diploma. So I would say if you're going into medicine, like nursing or surgeon or anything related to that, or anything related to STEM or law or accounting, then I would say college will be worth it, because they would actually train you how to do your job. But for other degrees like English, literature, or because I was going for a business degree, I mean, those are more common. I mean, nobody really cares if you have one or not. It depends on on the work that you put out.
Right.
And the same thing with going to art school for an art degree. Like, your future employers don't care how well you did in your classes. They want to see what your portfolio is like. How strong is your drawing skills and your design skills?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're going to look at what your skin in the game is,
Yep.
what have you actually imitated in your life. Let's go to the phones here. Jared, you wanted to ask about free college tuition?
Yeah, I was just wondering, in the future when we all get to go to wherever we want, what college degree would you guys choose and why?
Well, that's exciting because I've got a new proposal I'm pushing this week. It's called Free Ivy League Education for All. I believe everyone should get a free, all tuition paid for PhD from their choice, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, I don't care, anywhere in the Western world, you should have a free ride. What do you think, Jared? Think that's a good idea?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm totally on board with that. And I can't wait to pick my degree and,
What would you pick?
Oh, gosh. Well, I haven't even thought about it. I know it's coming soon because this is a great idea. I'm sure everyone else is going to.
Wait, my idea is great.
So we can all have it right now.
Yeah, hold on. My idea is great, but what the Democrats are offering is weak tea compared to mine, because they're just going to give us crumbs and say, we'll pay for your first 4 years at some generic college. I'm going to give you what we really deserve, which is I get to go to Elizabeth Warren School, all expenses paid. I get to get the PhD or master's like she did, right?
Well, there will be some things we'll have to work out later after we read it, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, $500 hamburgers and all the other things that inflation might cause because of all these free degrees, we'll worry about that later. But you know what? I won't be able to pay for anything. Nothing will be affordable, and I'll be really, really in a bad post-apocalyptic nightmare similar to Mad Max, but at least I'll have my PhD like Elizabeth Warren from Harvard, right?
Oh, no, it'll be great. Everyone will finally be on board on the same page.
Well, thanks for your call.
It should work out.
Thanks for your call, Jared. We're going to keep fighting for that free Harvard education for you. And if you want to join in on the discussion, 866-916-5400, toll free, 866-916-5400 is the number to call. Or you can text. Please send nice, gentle texts to 23680. And do not text while you're driving, please. Do not text while you're driving. You may hit a random bundle of miscounted ballots by the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Elections. There's always hidden ballots on the road. You think it's a turtle, you hit it, and all of a sudden you find ballots that were stuffed in there in some random black bag. Do not drive and text, please. We need everyone alive tonight. This is the most important time of our lives. 866-916-5400. Let's go back to Lena. You were telling me more. Let's get into some of the alternatives for college. What are some alternatives for people who are tired of the debt trap that is college?
Yeah, look around for boot camps. And this could be coding boot camps if you're going into tech. You don't really necessarily need a degree anymore for any of the programming jobs. Recently, Apple, IBM, and Google, they all got rid of their degree requirements because they realized, the market is changing, the world is changing faster because of technology, and they want to remain relevant.
Right.
So in order to do that, they can't rely on something that's archaic, such as the college degree. So, yeah, that's one of the things I recommend. Praxis is another thing. Even just looking around at your jobs, and just like applying, see what you can get. That's one way. I would also recommend, boosting your LinkedIn, like updating it. Praxis has a couple articles about that. If you look on their website, it's called discoverpraxis.com, Praxis. And just read through their blog. They have very invaluable information to how to further your career.
Very good. Discoverpraxis.com. Praxis is the word for what? Action, right? Yep. We want action. We're tired of words. We want some action. Stop listening to those college professors telling you about this studies and that studies. Man, I took gender communication studies. Whoo! Lord have mercy. You will learn there's 87 genders. More genders than Baskin-Robbins ice cream flavors. It is a whirlwind and a half. Let's go back to the phones. David, that's a wonderful name there. David, you have a question about college tuition?
Well, what it is my daughter's a student at UNF, and we're having to go up there to meet with her academic advisor because over the last 3 times she's met with them, they've changed her course study. Even though her major hasn't changed, nothing's changed, and they've put her in classes that she doesn't need for her major, and now they're asking her to double minor on something. And all that's doing is extending the cost of education.
Wow. So it sounds like they're just trying to find a way to bilk you for more money, huh?
Well, you go in there and you have a set of classes, and then all of a sudden you go and meet with your academic advisor who's representing the university and the school that you're in inside the university, and they tell you, no, you got to do this, this, and this. And then we just found out before she was a half semester. She was about 3/4 of a semester ahead. Now she's 10 hours behind because the classes that she took, at his urgings, don't count toward her major, so they don't count. Wow. They literally don't count. And it's like, so we're going to go up there, and I'm flat out going to tell them, we're not paying for this. Your advisor told her this. You asked her to do something she didn't need to do, and I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, what's her degree?
Yeah, this is Lena Wang.
She's in sports management.
Sports management. So that's her goal is, what does she want to accomplish with this?
Well, with the sports management, she can do a bunch of different things. She can do event planning for sports. She can do, she can go into athletic director coaching. She can go to, basically, she wants to be a team, a team manager type thing.
Right.
She wants to get into the education side of it. There's a bunch of different ways to do that, but not my degree choice. Hers. She's got to do the work.
Right.
But it's also because it's a management class. She has a lot of business emphasis in that degree.
David, may I ask did your college education, was it instrumental in what you've accomplished in your career?
Funny story. I was a vice president with Bank of America. Was there for 20 years. I was a permanent mortgage lender. I was doing multi-million-dollar transactions that are sold on the Wall Street as bonds. And you know what my degree was in?
What was it?
Nothing. I left the University of Florida with 20 hours to go on a business management degree, and I didn't complete my degree until after my banking career was over.
Love it. That's my kind of guy, David, and I love your name too. So that's what I'm talking about. You put skin in the game, and that's what got you where you are, isn't it?
Street smarts over book smarts any day of the week.
Well, I appreciate your call, David. Thanks for contributing.
Yes, sir.
And folks, if you want to join in, this is a topic that's ruining a lot of people's lives right now. There's mountains of debt, $100,000 debt for learning how to paint and stuff. And we want everybody to have their expression, but don't do it in a suicidal manner, folks. 866-916-5400. Join in on the discussion. Should you go to college or should you drop out? You're listening to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski. And welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice Radio, the show that gets things done. I'm your host, David Gornoski, and we're tackling the religion of the university system. We're going right into the temple, and we're setting the captives free. And we're overturning those animal cages, letting everybody out. We're going to go get them all out. No more time for money changing. You know, that's what that whole debt thing is. It's a money-changing system in a modern time, isn't it?
Yep.
And we're here with Lena Wang. She spoke recently at UCF here in Orlando at the Mises Institute's great conference they had a few weeks ago. I was able to speak as well, and she made some very good points that college is not what it's cracked up to be. It's time to make some real choices if we want to have future prosperity for ourselves, for our families, for our kids, and just make common sense choices to make sure we have the best opportunities in life. I'm also in studio with my chief science advisor, Dr. Wei-Ping Yu, who is a physicist, theoretical physicist.
Yes, thank you, David. I like to make a comment about the education system.
Sure.
Why in United States the education system is much different than in most of the countries.
Okay.
I would say in high population, third world developing countries, college education only reserved for as a filter of mass and select only enough people to fit in, say, high white collar or high demanding jobs.
Right.
It's a filtering mechanism. But in the United States, it's opposite. So everybody goes to college as a money-making business, so as long as you can pay for it.
Right.
So that creates a problem. So everybody goes there, devalue the education degrees, and does not even guarantee you have a decent job.
Right. It's kind of like if we could print gold, then gold wouldn't have the same market value, right?
So, yes. So one thing I thought about it, so in the high demand, as a filtering mechanism, so you have urgency to make college right away, because before you forgot everything you learned in high school, right? So you have the urgency. But in the United States, I don't see the urgency. Why you have to go to college right away after high school?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we should instead have high school graduates take a gap year. Let them research their options, what degrees are fit them, what are the requirements, and at the same time, get a job. Explore the workforce, and because you learn more from dealing with people outside of the university, outside of this bubble. And
I like this idea. Figure out before you
Right.
owe the money, right?
I mean, it wouldn't make sense to just dive in and then expect to perform perfectly, right? No, of course not.
Yes. To be honest, when I was 24 years old, I got college degrees in engineering physics, and then I go to university to teach. People ask me, what do you want? I don't even know what I really want my career to be. So how can you request 16 years old, 18 years old to borrow tons of money to study something you don't even know you want to do it?
Yeah, and I feel it's more like corrupt for society to tell their young people to go into thousands of dollars of debt and then somehow expect them to succeed in life, even though they're held back by $100,000 neck deep with all of this debt they might not even pay. They might have to default on their debt.
Yeah.
I mean, what sort of society does that? It's telling them to be financially irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated first in my class in high school.
First of the class.
Oh, first class. But you know what I did when I was in college? I had gender study communications. That was I was studying communication in every class. I just wanted to learn how to be a good future husband, learn how to communicate. I thought I'd get a degree in it because it seems like, that's a big problem. So I wanted to learn how to be a communicator. I didn't learn anything, but all I did was learn about like gender and this thing and that thing. And what I got for my A from my final exam, I had to do a presentation. So I did a presentation where I argued that Lion King, the story of Simba, was a story of a female lion cub that transitioned into a male lion cub. I got an A+ and a standing ovation for that. All I did was play a clip of Lion King, and I opened up the epic scene where the cub is presented before the tribe, and I paused and I said, that's proof right there, no sign of male gender. And so then later on, I showed how the cub, the lioness cub, transitioned into a male lion and assumed his role as a king. And those people, and I was doing a satire, but the professor was so enraptured in his ideology, he thought it was real. And he gave me a standing ovation. He had tears in his eyes. The whole crowd, the audience was just enthralled by it. And that was my A. I just played a clip from Lion King. So here you go. I'm not going to mention the university because they're all the same basically anyways, except for the ones that our elites and the democratic socialists go to. Man, those guys, I don't know what it is about them. They're so poor and disenfranchised, but they all end up in these elite, connected, big, giant, billion-dollar corporate universities. Dr. Yu, I have a question for you. You're basically a rocket scientist, and you're a physicist, but I have a suspicion that your brilliant insights in physics, you didn't learn any of that in a classroom, did you?
That's absolutely true. True learning is after I graduate, after I join NASA, work for NASA, and gradually realize many of the theories, especially in physics, in modern physics theories. Right. Number one, you cannot rely on any of them to do a real life work. Okay. Right. You cannot find decent work. And also find many of the things may have lots of problems. That's not really. Many facts has to be correct.
Right. And, when you come on the show, you're representing just your personal views. But what I have found is that your brilliant insights into physics, none of it is what you learned in your textbook physics. So there's an example, folks. Children listening right now, I know you've had a long day at school and you're worried about what your, adults are telling you about going to college. Hey kids, if you want to be a rocket scientist, I'm talking to one right now, and his genius insights, he didn't get them from going to school. So don't worry. You don't have to be a slave to debt to achieve your dreams. You do not have to be a slave to peer pressure. You can do whatever you want if you think for yourself.
That's right, because I would recommend, if you still want to go to college, and that's all right, start off with a community college, somewhere where you can afford it more easily. And You can just do a general AA studies just to explore your options. And then once you're ready to settle on a major, then go ahead and transfer to university. And actually, transferring from a community college to a university will be much easier. And I know Valencia and UCF does a direct connect where you're pretty much guaranteed entry into UCF.
What about trade schools?
Trade schools, yeah, another great option. If you feel the college environment doesn't agree with you and you want another alternative, another way out, definitely look into trade schools. Because, plumbers right now can make up to $80,000 a year and upwards actually. And trades are very much in demand, or in high demand, sometimes even more than a 4-year degree.
Right.
Like white collar jobs.
Yes.
And we definitely need those people. And same thing as we need more doctors, surgeons, nurses, and so forth. Who else is gonna, fix your plumbing for you or your electricity?
Right, and I guarantee your plumber knows more about how to fix healthcare than Elizabeth Warren or any of those Harvard people. So
yeah, and a lot of these jobs tend to be recession proof. You look at your car mechanic, and people are still constantly going to get their cars fixed during a recession, right?
That's a great point. Yeah, Dr. Yu?
Oh, yes. I have 2 successful examples I wanted to share with you. Basically, right now, your passion conflict with the degree, right? So that's the problem. And I have one gentleman, she used to work with me. Her passion is to be ballerina. And she pursued until 30 years old. I believe it was after 30 years old.
That was my passion too, by the way.
Oh, really?
It didn't work out.
She was so successful, but however, she found somehow age limit. So they like the young or something. Uh-huh. And she started study engineering, like a mechanical engineering. And eventually she made it to NASA and become a manager. That's her degree, her bachelor degree is from, California, Berkeley.
Okay.
After 30 years old.
Huh.
And she becomes an excellent engineer. She has an excellent and becomes a manager. And there's another gentleman. He worked for, Sherwin-Williams paint shop for over 10 years. So, and then he started go to UCF, get a degree in electrical engineering. And then he made it to NASA. He became one of the top electrical engineer I know of in NASA.
Wow.
That's incredible. And these people aren't exceptions either, are they?
No, I don't believe so. Because when you truly matured, you started learning better than the people without self-driving.
Right. So some of the principles I'm learning from here in this discussion is most likely you don't need college. If you do want to do college, if you have some kind of STEM interest, maybe pursue that degree later after you've really had a few years to figure out who you are and what you want to do and be in life. Don't rush into it because that social status, it's not worth it. I know a lot of people, they won't say this, but they're really the biggest elephant in the room for going to college is social status. I want to be cool. I want to be fit in. I want to be considered intelligent. I want to be considered smart. I want to be considered a successful, legitimate member of society. That's why they go to college. Unfortunately, that's why 99% of everybody goes to college. You can get that social status by being a leader in your field through your own self-guided study, okay? Like I studied René Girard. I've become an expert in the field of anthropology and philosophical anthropology, and I didn't study anthropology in school. So, it's just self-guided study will give you what you want. And, like Lena was saying, getting your skin in the game by working in a job that's related to where you want to be, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And another thing is if you're still uncertain about, what sort of career you want to pursue, but think about it this way. If you dive straight into a 4-year degree program, and then you find out 30 years later down the road, you hate your job, and you figure you're still in debt, and that's why I recommend explore your options. Do a lot of research, and not just in what college degree you're looking for, but consider trade schools, consider boot camps, and consider other alternatives. You need to open up your mind. And that's the other thing that employers are looking for is coachability, open-mindedness. It's seeing that you're willing to learn and willing to improve yourself on your own.
We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, I want to get into quickly, what's it look like when this college bubble pops? You're listening to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski.
I try to say goodbye and I choke. I try to walk away and I stumble. Though I try to hide it, it's clear. My walk follows
The great Macy Gray. Walk away. It's time to walk away from toxic groupthink and get our heads on straight so we don't run ourselves into a ditch and end up living in a van down by the river. We don't want to do with that. We don't want that in our lives. We ain't got time for all these people teaching us about democratic socialism, trying to throw us crumbs so we can get some free college. Man, that's not going to work out at all. We want a world where we can all have prosperity, where we don't have to rely on all these central planners, that we get our own clean energy, our own clean, healthy, non-toxic medicine that's cheap and affordable for everyone, and our own job that pursues what we want to serve the world with. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Just like Lena mentioned about decentralized education. That's
Right.
probably the right time to do, right?
That's right.
I do not believe a college degree really worth the cost and the time for now, since it is so college for everybody. Everybody go but it becomes purely money making business.
Right.
And, we have the technology right now to pursue a decentralized education.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people learn from YouTube and a quick Google search. And now we have things like Udemy courses. And that's another way to opt out of the college system is to if you're interested in graphic design or learning Photoshop, search for a Udemy course. And these courses can be as little as maybe $5 or $10 because they always constantly have sales going on. And some of these people that teach these courses offer it for free.
Right.
And so college and trade schools aren't your only option. This is your other option as well. And like Dr. Yu said, you don't need to go neck deep into debt for this.
Yeah, and
knowledge.
I think if you're struggling with college debt, look, I didn't get into student loans, but I know a lot of people do have them. And I think there should be some kind of debt forgiveness. I think it was a scam to begin with. Yes, they predated on your desire to be, prestigious or to have, something over your neighbor, to act like you know something they don't. But that's how most of us make our self-interested choices and degrees. But ultimately, it is kind of a scam because, they throw all this money they create and they give it to Wall Street. And Wall Street hooks you in with that promise of greed. You take the bite as a young, stupid 18-year-old. And now you're 5 years down the road and you got a mountain of debt and no hope and you're working at Starbucks and you're angry and you're looking at Bernie Sanders with a tear in your eye. You're saying, please save me as you scrub those Starbucks cups. It ain't going to get it for you, man. Bernie's not going to do nothing for you. So what I'm offering is, look, let's just forgive the debt, but let's not give free college for everyone unless you're going to get my proposal, which is free Ivy League education for all. For every single one, because I'm ready to go in there, because I'm going to get like 10 PhDs, and then I'm going to go do TED Talks all the time and tell all these liberals why they're so greedy and corporate and sellouts. But I want to get your opinions real quickly here as we wrap up. What's going to happen when this college bubble pops? What are we looking at? Because it's on its way. It's not sustainable. There's too much debt. I would rather do debt forgiveness jubilee because it was a hoodwink system. They created the money out of thin air. So if you create the money out of thin air, you can wipe it out just like that, in my opinion. What do you think?
There's another point I want to bring up. So I've come across a startup called Vemo. It's spelled VEMO, Vemo Education. And what they do is income share agreements called ISAs. So what this thing is that you can pursue a college program and you'll graduate debt-free. And the way it works, Vemo creates a program tailored for your degree, for you, and they partner up with your college to, get you on track, learn your stuff, and then match you with an employer. So you only pay a certain percentage out of your income, and if your income goes below that, then you don't pay until you get another job that matches the requirements of this contract that you signed. So that is what colleges should be looking into right now, is income share agreements.
Huh.
So you can look this up online, vemo.com, VEMO.com.
Very good. Dr. Yu?
I want to share my regrets. If I have a second chance to go over, I would first pursue my passion. Pursue passion. If anybody you wanted to be an artist, you wanted to be a radio host just like David, or you wanted to be something, pursue your dream first, because right now college degree just buy you the job, buy something. That if you already have the possibility, don't go college. And once you need that, when during your pursue passion, then you go back to study.
You heard it from a rocket scientist, folks. We don't need college. And Lena Wang, thanks again. DiscoverPraxis.com. We've enjoyed it. On the other side, we're going to hear from a woman who just left the White House. She's the first woman to be released under the new First Step Act. She'll be with us live in just a few minutes on A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski. Godspeed.